I'm having a rare night away in the centre of Aberdeen in Scotland, and rather than sit in a hotel room bar on my own and drink on my own, I've decided to come out around the city centre in Aberdeen and try to take some shots at night using the Canon 400D just to give myself a challenge as always. And yeah, I'm going to try and explore. One of the challenges I've got is that I've had a Google to have a look on and looked on Instagram to see where the honeypot locations are in Aberdeen to take photos at night, and the truth is I couldn't find any, which was a bit interesting. So what I plan to do is have a walk around the city and see if I can find any nice pictures or see if I can find something. Might be a bit of a challenge for me, but I'll take you along with me and let's have a look at Aberdeen together. Aberdeen is about 8 hours drive for me, so I've had an 8-hour drive today to get here, and it's Scotland's third largest city in the northeast of Scotland behind Glasgow and Edinburgh. And I had a quick search on Google to find out what is Aberdeen all about, what's Aberdeen famous for, and I'm not sure if they're famous for being the first place to use or the inventors of the self-seal envelope. And I think that's the most famous thing about Aberdeen. So I'm going to try and see if I can find any more interesting things about the place now. One of the things I think is quite cool, I've noticed along Union Street, the streets that are off Union Street often have street names up above, like as you can see here, Crown Street. And these seem to be dotted along all Union Street. I'm not sure it's going to make a very good photo, but I really quite like the idea that these street names are in lights. So here's an idea for a shot. I've seen a few buses pass. I think if I can get a bus going past that sign for Crown Street, that might make a nice picture. So I've got the Canon, there goes one now. So I've got the Canon 400D, 3-second timer, f8, and ISO 100. So I'm going to wait for another bus and then try and get a shot of it now. I can see a bus in the distance and it's just a waiting game. There's a bus up there as well. There's lots of buses going past. Ideally, I want a bus on that side of the road so I can get the best shot. Here comes one from this side. Oh, it's going to stop at the lights. That's good. At least the bus is stopping at the light. There's a bendy bus approaching, so I'll try and get this. You'll see it going past in a second. Here it goes. 1, 2, 3. There goes the bendy bus. Let's see what that looks like. I'm not sure that my earlier bus photo worked out terribly well, but I found Union Square Gardens just here that looks a bit intriguing. There's lights here. It looks interesting, so I'm going to go into this little patch of garden by the side of the road and the railway line and try to get some pictures. There's a picture of, or a statue of King Edward up there, which is, at least that's illuminated. That might be interesting. But I'll take us into these gardens and let's see if we can find a picture in here. Apologies if you're from Aberdeen and you're thinking, this English guy hasn't done his homework very well, because you really have got a lovely city. And it's just that I've had just a few minutes of Google really to find out what Aberdeen's all about, so maybe I haven't seen it in its best light yet. Here's a shot in Union Square Gardens, and I've got the Canon 400D. I've got the leading line of these railings leading up to this building up here and the buildings beyond. I've got a f5.6 13-second exposure. I'm going to not use the timer on this camera because it's a 10-second timer and it just takes ages. So I'm just going to hit the button, take this picture, and hopefully, fingers crossed, it looks all right. Hopefully that's going to be all right. I think I'll get away with it because it's a long exposure, and any tiny little bit of camera shake of me pressing a button, I don't think that's going to make a lot of difference to the actual image when it comes out. So hopefully that comes out all right. I also like the look of these arches behind me. The light's on them really nicely. I've got the leading line of this railing and I get the other railing on the other side. I've got the camera horizontal in landscape mode so I can get a nice wide shot and get all of those nice arches in the background. On this one, because it's a bit more light, I've been able to go for f8 and around roughly about a 10-second exposure. Once again, I'm not using the timer because I'll be here all night, so I'm just going to go for that, press that button, and hope for the best as always. Night shots are really difficult to get right because you've got to balance that exposure and shutter speed, and sometimes it can be a bit trial and error getting it right first time or getting it right at all. So in fact, that was a 6-second exposure, f8, ISO 100, and this is what it looks like on the back of camera before we've done any sort of edits. It looks all right. So it's got that line of railing there. It's got that side balancing out and these arches. So I'll see how that looks like when I've edited it. Hopefully it's okay. This park in Aberdeen looks pretty cool, and it looks like there is some photos here even at night. Unfortunately, it looks like the park's closed. It must have been used as a venue for something, so I can't get down there because there's lots of light down in the park itself. Unfortunately, sadly, I can't make it, but I'll keep wandering around this little area and try and take a couple more photos before I move on to another destination, wherever that takes me. This is the Merchant Quarter in Aberdeen, and I found this little sort of cobbled street with these street lamps on, which looks quite nice. It looks like it's having some building works and renovation done here, so not a lot of it is photogenic. But I'm going to go with this shot. It is, I'm going for f8, 5-second exposure, just trying to get the lamps in. I might have to do a little bit of cropping at the end in post just to get a couple of these artifacts out of the picture that look ugly. But generally it looks like quite a nice picture. So I'm going to give that a whirl and just take that 5-second exposure, and let's have a look at that now. This looks cool, a bit of an urban alleyway. It's called the Tunnel or the Tunnels. So yeah, I think that looks like a great shot. Shame there's not a full crowd of kids in here, but you can imagine there would be. So I'm going to take this shot in landscape format. I've gone 4-second exposure, f6.3. I think that's just going to be perfect. It's lots of different lights in here, so I'm going to have to work hard in post-production to get the white balance right. But I think this is going to be all right, so here goes. Six-second exposure. I might do a couple of shots because the camera moved a bit, and in fact I might go with a 10-second exposure on this one, or the 10-second timer, because the camera moved a bit. So I'll take a couple of different shots and show you them at the end. This is a real cool, vibrant area of Aberdeen. I guess the kids have been here a few times. Thanks very much indeed for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this little snippet of Aberdeen. If you have, great. That's marvellous. Thanks very much again, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheerio.